Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kyverno Office Hour. Today we have Frank on the line. Thank you, Frank, for joining. Frank, by the way, Frank is author of the Policy Reporter for Kyverno, and today he will be demonstrating the new Policy Reporter UI version 2. So with that, let me hand off to Frank. Frank, maybe you want to start with a quick introduction, and then we'll dive into the V2 version of the UI.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm Frank. I'm working for PE Digital, a German company with different dating apps. During my normal work, I'm contributing to different tools like the Kyverno ecosystem. I developed, for example, the Kyverno Playground as well. I also contributed to tools like Falco Sidekick from the Falco community. And in the main time, I'm the maintainer of Kyverno Policy Reporter, which I want to showcase today, the new V2 version of the UI, which is currently in an alpha state. But I will soon move on to the beta phase because I already get the first feedback and it's stable enough to go further. So then let me share. So you see my browser, right?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, great. So this is the new version of the UI. For comparing to the old one, I also have an old instance running. So in this older version, you see that the information was just based on the kind of report. So you had a dashboard with the failing parts of your application, and you can go deeper into your policy reports as well as the cluster policy reports. But as you see, you don't really have kind of clustering of your information. So you just get all results which were in your cluster without a category context or anything else. So you have to go through the whole list or filter the things you are interested in. So while you get all insights, it's not that easy to find what you're really interested in. And in comparison, we have the new one, which already clusters your information in the first place. So you get a basic overview about the failings and past results per namespace in a single graph instead of multiple different ones. And you can see that the information of results is already clustered per resource. So you have a direct overview how a namespace or an app in your namespace performs. So we can directly see that our core DNS has 70 past results and 2 fail results. And if you find something you are interested in, you can dig deeper into it, and then you see the whole list of results per source. So in this case, we have a multi-source setup, source in meaning of a engine which creates policy reports. So while Kyverno does it in the first place, we also have other tools that supporting policy reports already, like an optional adapter for the tree operator. And here you can see that we have the Kyverno results clustered per category. And then we have a whole list of all results also for tree config audit. And if we have some failings, we can check out what the error message is, some metadata about it, and can then check if we can fix it, or take a look later on. For the different sources, we also get dedicated pages. So while the old UI only showed a page per source with all results in it, we don't have really a possibility to check which resource or result comes from an policy standard or which comes from our own best practices. So in the new UI, we get new clustering also for categories. So we can check how a category of policies perform. For example, we have the pod security standards baseline profile, which we see have 6 failures in the kube system namespace and 1 in the ingress namespace. And then we can check the kindnap daemon set, and we have for our single category the results. And if we, for example, not able to fix this because the deployment or daemon set just needs this possibility, in case of Kyverno, we can generate a policy exception. So you are able to just download it or copy it to your clipboard and provide a PR for your GitOps operation or apply it in your cluster to exclude this rule for your kindnet deployment daemon set and yeah, fix it that way. So you have much more control and overview of your resources, just instead of using multiple different filters to achieve your needs, you can directly use a more detailed navigation and navigate to your resource and yeah, have details for one single resource instead of a bunch of hundreds of results in a single table. So this is the main difference in the structure of the new UI. As shown with the exceptions, we have some new features. So exception is one new feature, which is for Kyverno, because it's a Kyverno CRD. Another new feature is called custom boards. So I had a lot of feedback from users that they have a multi-tenant setup with different teams which are responsible for a subset of namespaces. So if you have your complete cluster with tons of namespaces, we have infrastructure-related namespaces like Kube System, Kyverno, the local path storage provider, but also application or product-related namespaces like a namespace for subscriptions, for user handling, for payment or marketing. We might have an infra team which is not interested in this product-related namespaces. And we might have product teams which only interested for payment stuff like subscription and the payment namespace. And to give them a dashboard only for informations they are interested in, you can configure custom boards, which looks like this. So you can give it a custom name, and you can use a namespace selector as well as a namespace list. But yeah, selector is much more flexible. So as you see, we have a selector for the team label with an infra value. And if we check our namespaces, you see that we have the Kube system, which has this label. We have the Kyverno, which has this team label. And if you go into this custom board, you will see that only this subset of namespaces are shown in this dashboard. So you no longer have to filter out what you want to see. You just get a dashboard for your own purpose. And yeah, as before, you then can go into your resources and check the details out of it and see what you need to fix or what you need to create an exception for. Same goes for team A. So in our list, we have the payment namespace with a team A label and as well as a subscription namespace with a team A label. So we only see these two namespaces in our custom bot. So that's a new simple way to make this dashboard more usable for this multi-tenant requirements. And yeah, right now it's not possible to let people only see custom bots they belong to. So the new UI supports OAuth and OpenID for authentication, but there is no authorization at this time. It's a feature for the future and in planning, but there's no implementation yet. So we can, and we go to the configuration again. We, for example, have OAuth. There are a preset of defined providers. So at this time, it supports oh. So we have support for AWS, GitLab, GitHub, Apple, Google, Yandex, and Azure AD, as well as OpenID Connect, which basically supports all kind of compatible tools like Keycloak. Yeah, I just selected the most used providers. It's possible to add more of them, but I will leave that to the community. They can request providers they use. So if you want to implement OAuth and you have a provider which is not supported, you can open an issue and I take a look if it can be added. Yes. So if we want to enable OAuth, we basically can provide all informations in the values, but in cases of security and Git GitOps approaches, we can also use secrets to provide the client ID and the client secret. So we don't have to add it as plain text to our values. So when we check the secret, you see that we have the client ID and client secret provided via the secret, and the provider and the callback is configured in our values. Then we can just enable the feature and update our deployment. And as soon as it's updated, we have to forward again. Yeah, you see that we now need to authorize us against this OAuth provider. And then we have access to our UI again. You see that we have our profile in the top right corner. So we know that we are authorized right now. And now we can use it again, but if you're not part of the, or if you're not able to authenticate, you cannot longer use the UI. That was not possible with the old one, which only had HTTP basic authentication. Now you have a much more secure way to ensure that the UI is only used by your employees. And yes, then not completely new, but completely restructured functionality of the UI is the plugin system. So in the V1, we had already a Kyverno plugin, but it was not easy to create new plugins for other sources. And you also had to work on the UI code itself to get a new plugin working. The new approach is much easier, and it makes it also easier to implement new plugins in the future. So the new plugin system requires a defined set of REST APIs. So we have a endpoint for a list of policies. This is an example for Trivi, where you have the category, the name, a title, description, and severity. Same goes for Kyverno, where you also have a category, namespace, if it's a namespace policy, name, title, and description. The second endpoint are a details page for a single policy where you can add references, more details, and some metadata. And in case of Kyverno, you can even add the YAML code to show it in the UI. And the last one is the exception API, where you can create exceptions. This is only available for Kyverno right now. But in this, we already have a second plugin. As you saw, we have now Kyverno and the Trivia operator plugin. And let me show you how this affects UI. So besides this resource-based dashboards, we also have policy dashboards, where you see a list of your policies and how a single policy performs. And in this one, you see how it looks like with the plugin enabled. So you have a readable name, and you can also get some description of your policy. If you have a UI without, let me, yes, also enabled. Yeah, this is without the plugin. So you see basically the resource name of the policy without a description. And you see much more difference when we go into the details page. So without the plugin, you just see the performance data. So in this cluster, we only have a single pass result and not much more details about it. If we go in the cluster with the plugin enabled, you see already that we have more details. We have the description. We also see some engine informations like the engine itself, the min version of the engine we need to run this policy, also which subjects are validated by this policy. And in case of Kyverno, some configuration details, if background scanning is enabled, if admission is enabled, the failure policy, as well as the mode, which could be audit or enforce. And if we want, we can also take a look into the policy, how it looks like. Directly loaded from the cluster. So you get much more details. And that's basically what the plugin provides. Same goes for Trivi. In case of Trivi, we get also a description. We also see, based on the avatar, the severity of the policy. And if we go into it, we also get much more description. We also see the engine and the related subjects. And for this, the affected versions. For this example, we also see when they are patched. So you not only see which resources are affected, you also see what you need to update to basically fix your vulnerability. So that's about the plugin system. And as you already saw, like in the old UI, we also have again a multi-cluster setup. where you are able to switch between different clusters in a single UI. When I show it in the config, so you basically have your default cluster, which is configured over a secret, and then you can add external clusters via a available URL from the core API. Which enables a switch to move to switch between the different clusters. In this one, we only have a single resource which is validated. But the basic idea is that you can use a single UI to showcase all your different clusters. And a last feature from which was requested from the community, besides the normal light and dark theme, we now have also colorblind themes for better accessibility. So when you check out this one, you see that the colors are a bit different to be more accessible for the different colorblind types we have. So the colors are selected to support most of them. And I got good feedback about it. So one last thing I want to mention is that the new UI has much more possibilities for customization. So maybe you saw already that the UI doesn't show, for example, pods by default. So if you go to the dashboard, you see that we only have deployments and daemon sets, but no pods. So this is not because we don't validate pods, but it's possible to configure the UI to hide some different kinds to make the visibility or observability easier. Because in case of Kyverno, when you target a pod for validation, you also validate the replica set and deployment, for example. And then you basically have 3 items for the same application. And to reduce this to the deployment, we are able to configure exclusions for this kind of resources, like pod, job, and replica set, which not means that you're not able to show them. If you use the kind filter, you you are able to still select pods, and then you can also show your pods, how they perform. They're just hidden by default. And because it's a configuration and you want to show pods by default, you can customize it as you want. You can also see that the new UI has the possibility to hide different results types. In case of Kyverno, in background scanning, we normally don't have warn or error results, so we hide them. But as mentioned, you can still remove them and configure them to be visible. So if I would remove them, for example, and deploy it again, then you see that you can have warn and error results again. So it's much more customizable, and the users are able to configure it as they like. The configuration is per source, so you can define if you only want to see or hide error results for Kyverno or also for other tools. So in this setup, I excluded warn and error results for Kyverno and passed error and skip results for Trivi, as well as for Trivi config audit. So it's much more customizable, and I will continue this approach to make it possible for more customization, but that's the current possibilities you have. And yeah, if you like to try it out, there is in the policy reporter repository under the version 3 branch documentation about it. So you have basic documentation about the installation, the authentication support, like the provider, how the configuration looks like, if you want to use the secret, how the secret has to look like, and so on. You also find details about the custom bots and the Kyverno policy exceptions. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feature requests, issues, then you can just reach out to the Kyverno channel, where I'm mostly active. So I would say that was a brief overview. Any questions from your side?
Well, I guess my question is, when will the GA for V2 be out?
So I have no really timeline yet. I think I will start the beta phase next week. And I plan with 1 or 2 months for the fine-tuning, so to say. And I think then latest in June, end of June, I will provide a first release candidate. I already got feedback where the new version is used in larger clusters with some around 10,000 pods. And it looks like that the performance is also much better because of the pre-clustering of the informations into resources. So it's mostly about UI bugs, improvements, UX, stuff like that. So it should not take too long.
Cool. And I really love this multi-tenancy support. I don't think I sang that last time during we met at KubeCon. Maybe I just missed it, but just a question for the roadmap of the reporter, like, well, like in the near future that we can enable the tenant access, like you just mentioned, and the policy reporter.
Yeah, so I'm currently checking for a general implementation to provide kind of role configuration and access to subset of information. But because of the different and generic way of authentication, there's no easy way for me right now. But I think I will find something that should be easy enough for the for the users, but also provides the functionality they need to. But yeah, it's on the roadmap. I don't have any timeline for it yet. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
current state.
just out of curious. All right. I don't see any other questions, but good to see those new features added to the policy reporter UI. And we're looking for the GA release for the V2 version of the UI in the near future.
Yeah.
With that, thank you, Frank, for joining. I guess that's conclude our meeting, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Ciao, ciao.